Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 38th episode of TOSH Talks, where today we are finally having Mercian's dream of talking about electric vehicles for an hour and a half. Let's be honest, even if this only goes on for an hour, I'm not too bothered. Because every time we do one of these and Mercian's on, he's always like, "Oh, I really want to talk about EVs.
I fucking
I
hate them.
just hate EVs. He hates them more than Birmingham.
They've ruined
Jeez.
Birmingham.
I don't think they
Am I
exist.
Scottish? Am I Scottish? What the hell was that?
Hey. He doesn't. Tharium doesn't really get out his hometown, so he doesn't really know what the Brummies sound like.
Yeah, especially. I wasn't trying to do a Brummie accent, just an angry voice.
You're trying to do the.
Mel Gibson trying to do a Scottish accent.
Yeah.
I've woken up in a steaming mood, right? Because I live. It's all.
I live in Birmingham, and I've only got an EV, so I can't get out of this shithole.
Well, yes, as you can tell, we don't have three Mercians. We have one Mercian and one Tharium. Hello, you two.
Hello.
Oh, goodness me. So, yeah, there's not going to be too much on the screen, so there's going to be a lot more like a podcast. Though I suppose if any articles you've actually sent me, Mercian, you end up referencing, I guess I'll put them on the screen. But
yeah. If you need to pull them up,
yeah, just let me know
they're
which
just
one.
for bling. I was hoping just to have a bit of a discussion about them, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, we'll get onto that soon. We're still being bullied in the chat for our Brummie accents, even though, well, mine wasn't very good. Tharium's was awful.
I wasn't trying to do one.
And
I was just being angry.
Ironically, I would say mine's the worst.
Yeah, but you already sound like a Brummie.
Yeah, I know. To you, I do.
Yeah.
When I try to put on a Brummie accent, it doesn't sound very good to me.
I'll take your word for it. Anyway, obviously we're on the subject of electric vehicles. I guess I'll start off with my overall thoughts and summaries on them. I've always been relatively skeptical of them because it always looks like it never looks like organic marketing campaigns for them, if you know what I mean. You've got shed load of subsidies, you have done for years. You have entire schemes. I mean, most electric vehicles are purchased through PIP, or mobility vehicles, which is now 1 in 5. New cars bought, which is a whole different subject in and of itself. Go on.
Autism is a valid reason to get motability.
That's going to change soon, isn't it?
So all of our autistic viewers, make the most of it while you can.
Dang it, Bobby! You better get it quick.
Yep.
Either way,
and then thank John for your new car.
Well, quite. Well, I'm nearly a debt taxpayer, I should say. Either way, I've been in electric cars. It's strange how they're quiet. It doesn't feel right that something that big is moving as quick as it does without making the noise, motor vehicle or internal combustion engines make. That's always odd to me. I think
many people, including petrol heads, it's actually the only vehicle that gives them motion sickness.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I never get motion sick, so I've never had that problem. But as I say, it's always felt like an AstroTurf popularity with electric vehicles. And so whenever anyone has them, it's either a Tesla, so they've got it for the cool kind of robot-y stuff Teslas do, or if it's like a Kia, like on screen, it's basically through mobility because they can get it really cheap.
I hear that owning a Tesla makes you a Nazi now.
I mean, that does make me want to get a Tesla. To be fair,
yeah, a Cybertruck, especially that Cybertruck is the super Nazi.
I'd get the super Nazi Cybertruck. Yeah, absolutely.
But it's always been if you have to have an EV. I mean, there's 3 things you need to have an EV. Is can you get one on like some kind? Is it a company car? 2, can you charge it from home? I forgot what the third one was. But those 2 things definitely. If you meet those 2 criteria, then I'd buy a Tesla. That's a no-brainer.
I would guess the third one is: do you drive very far?
Yes, thank you.
If you do drive very far, do not get an electric vehicle. What's their range like? It's nearly 100 miles. It's over. It's
Teslas
in
are
the
quite good.
hundreds. Yeah.
Shall I look up? I'm sure Teslas. A claim there's probably around 250 miles, but you've got to consider you're only supposed to charge them between 20 and 80%. So you've got to take their actual claimed figure and take 40% off that, and then that will change whether it's too hot or too cold as well.
Also,
Right.
doesn't. I mean, their performance degrades as their battery gets more empty, doesn't it?
That's true. Well, it's like any other. I mean, like, is your phone the same performance as when you had it new?
Nope.
But Tesla's. I mean, I can only speak to Teslas on this. Teslas try to actually limit the. I'm talking up EVs. Look what you're doing to me. Actually limit the amount of charge you can actually do.
Phones do that too now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that to stop fully charging it and degrading it?
Stop fully charging it, and as the battery degrades, it allows access to more of the battery.
Right. That makes sense.
So
I mean, that's smart.
It's clever technology. Well, that's why you buy Tesla. If you have to have one, buy Tesla.
Holy
and then
moly! Sorry, I've just had 50 quid from Jeg, Hollow Knight Fund for Harrian. Thank you. You know what? He sent me a message.
It's supposed to be a good game.
I know, he sent me that message the other. Well, I still need to play Life is Strange, and you need to play it with me, Tharium. No. He sent me a message the other day, and he's like, "Oh, how much would it be to make you play Hollow Knight?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's only a $5, so that'll do. Just any stream." And he gave me 50. Bloody hell! Now I'm gonna have to play that. But I still need to get Life is Strange first, which, to be fair, I did see for about 30 quid. So that's still on 30 quid when I'm paid. I'll get it.
Steam's got a sale at the moment.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's how I saw it. So I'll get that, play all the episodes, Tharium can watch, and then I will play Hollow Knight, because Hollow Knight's about a $5. But yeah, 50 quid's nuts. Like, thank you very much. You didn't have to go that mad. You could have waited till Saturday as well, when I was drunk, and probably would have gone nuts and didn't have to get back to talking about EVs. But yes, thank you. I'll get Hollow Knight on after Life is Strange, which, now that I've said it, I'll probably start playing that in April. So there you go, Tharium, get ready. Anyway, back to electric vehicles. I mean, you say you're bigging them all up, Mercian, but you're like, oh, you can only charge it to 80%. It gets you like 200 miles, something like that.
I've done the math on that.
Yeah, go on.
If you so an average, so if you got a box standard Tesla Model 3 or Model Y, their top end is about 272 miles. I'm assuming that's 100% charge. So you take 40% off that if you charge it correctly. You're talking 160 miles in perfect temperature conditions.
Well, this is what I mean. This is just stuff you don't have to worry about with internal combustion, diesel or petrol. The only difference between diesel and petrol is that diesel, you need to wait for the engine to warm up before it can start. Because obviously,
on for a few seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's the other thing. It's not very long, because once the pistons start going, it heats up really quickly.
Well, with electric cars, you still need to get out the credit card to scrape off the ice in the winter, and make a little square that you can see out of.
Oh, that's the other thing about electric cars. They all need to have heat pumps, because you don't have the natural heat from the engine to warm the car up. So they all have to be installed with heat pumps.
And unlike an internal combustion engine, if you use a heater, it dramatically reduces the range.
Yeah, well, air conditioning does take some power away from the engine, but not much. Like, it's enough to matter for like Top Gear's reasonably priced cars, races. But
yeah, I think on average it takes 5 or 10 horsepower away from an engine,
which isn't really that much considering they're usually like 200 or something like that.
Yeah, you're not going to notice. You'd have to be very astute to notice 5-10 horsepower dip. It does reduce the horsepower, but if you're driving normally, you're not going to notice. If you're racing, just switch the AC off.
Yeah. Anyway, bless you, Tash. Bless you. Sorry. Anyway, as I say, this was more Mercian's episode than anything. So, did you have a kind of structure to it? Anything in particular you want to talk about
Well,
first?
I've made some notes.
Yeah, go
I
for
mean,
it then.
if you want to talk about the grid, if you
Okay.
want to pull up that Guardian article from the top,
Yep.
we'll talk about that because there's talk.
Yeah.
There's talk about it. If you imagine that to charge an electric car is you usually need 150 kilowatts to do a fast charge to charge it up within 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I think it might even be higher than that. I'm not sure, but I use 150 kilowatts.
Mhm.
You imagine if millions of people are all charging up at the same time. That's going to put a tremendous strain on the national grid.
It certainly will, which I believe is why a lot of... I mean, I know someone who actually works for the National Grid, and I believe they actually give incentives for people to try and charge them when it's low peak, so that kind of they can average out the actual grid. And not only that, but if they keep it... They also almost pay them... I don't even think it's almost. They just do pay people to keep electric vehicles plugged in at peak times, because then it can take pressure off the grid, because you have all these electric cars which are just portable batteries, you know, kind of reversing charge and putting power into your house. So
Can't
it's all very
I think
complicated.
I heard somewhere that with these new smarter grids and stuff, they can actually flick it so that they then take power out of your electric car.
Well, that's what I mean.
So
That's what this article's talking about.
yeah.
Now, class, what is wrong with that?
You've been a very naughty boy today, Tharium. No power for your car.
Well, they can just switch
Well,
off access to your car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
After they drain
basically,
it,
yeah. So,
yeah.
so this idea that you can just charge overnight, if they're going to take power out of the car and then they take so up to 50% of the power out of your battery by the time you wake up in the morning to go to work.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you go to work, like, you need all those kettles flicking on, so it needs the power from your car. Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah,
It's not really a solution, is it?
well, it's one of those things where this just wouldn't be an issue if we had nuclear power, and fracked.
Well, I mean,
So
it still isn't good that they can just decide to take the power out of your
I
car,
don't.
though.
As long as you know it's a risk that is gonna happen, I don't really have an issue with it, because you know what the peak times are. Just don't plug it in at peak times then. And as I say, they also incentivize you to do it by paying you for it, because they're effectively paying for your power that they've already given you, that you've paid for. So it's kind of a buyback scheme. As you say though, if the government starts getting, as they will do with GB Energy, if that actually takes off, then the government have entire power over when they take power out of your car and not. Which, yeah, I can see the issue.
Imagine what the lockdowns would have been like if the government could have done that then. Everyone would just have all the power taken from their cars.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty amazing we still had power during the COVID lockdowns, to be fair, but, you know, little miracles. But whenever last time I talked to my friend who worked for the National Grid, I mean, I kind of raised these points of, like, do people want electricity taken out of their car? And he basically said they're basically happy to do it if we pay them, which they will do, because it's in the contract. Basically, it's a bit like you can't actually do that with solar panels, weirdly though, because I can't remember the exact reason. Solar panels will power your home and can go back into the grid, but they don't have a smart meter to work out when that's actually happening. So all it does in the end is give you cheaper bills overall, and I think they give you a lower rate if you have them. But it's not actually the same with electric cars, because electric cars know how much power's gone in and out, so they can actually measure it. Interestingly, so as I say, I get the issue, and of, like, you don't want anyone to have say over when your car gets power and when not. But at the end of the day, if people get paid, they kind of overlook that anyway.
I mean, it's a bit like if some gypsy's gone and come and sucked all the petrol out of your car.
Well, that can't happen. They just steal the copper wire instead.
That happens, yeah, that happens as well.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Well, it's a bit of that's another issue, because most electric cars are obviously charged on driveways, and the point the electric points on the outside of the house, so not usually an awful lot you can actually stop with that type of theft. But I mean, I've seen some like coils of something that have it written on it like not copper wire, and it's very obvious it's so it doesn't get stolen.
A clever disguise.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the thieves don't speak English. Damn it.
Well, maybe.
I mean, the other issue is let's say you've got a charging hub.
Mm-hmm.
If you have too many electric cars charging at the same hub at the same time, you rather than getting 150 kilowatts, it can go down to 50 kilowatts, slowing
Right.
the charging down. I've just sent you a Facebook video. I don't know whether that's going to be easy enough for you to put on screen without doxing yourself or
I'm
whatever.
a little bit iffy about that.
But if you could get that,
Wow.
I can
Sick.
get a YouTube video, but it's part of a different. It's part of a fuller video.
Let me
and
just.
I'd have to give you timestamp.
Let me just see what it looks like. Okay, I think we should be able to get away with that. So.
It's what happens when too many cars charge at once.
Yeah, we've got away with that. So, wow, that is a lot of cars. Where are they? Oh, Taiwan.
I think that's some Scandinavian country. I'm not sure which. Sweden, Norway, that kind of region.
Tasha's just come in and said electric cars are gay. Oh, there's a lot of Teslas though.
I don't like electric.
None of us do.
Yeah,
That's why
so,
we're doing this.
They're really bad for.
How are they? Oh, because I can't hear them.
They can't hear them coming, so they shit themselves.
That is another reason to hate electric cars. They scare the horses.
Yeah.
There you go.
More rights to be on the road.
Mm. So are all these cars charging then?
Yeah, they're all queuing up to charge.
Oh, they're queuing up. Oh my god.
Isn't it more expensive as well to charge when you're not at home than it is like when you're out?
Yeah, it's more expensive to charge an external charge than it is to put even diesel in the
Do you know
tank.
what really annoys me?
What?
The amount of parking spaces that have been taken away from just like normal car users for electric cars.
I know.
They always get prime parking. Like, you know, what's the next step of like being above disabled people in an electric car?
Well, you have to be disabled to buy an electric car, babe. To be fair.
Unless you're minted. Or you want a really shit.
Yeah,
cheap
quite.
freaking
I mean
car.
that is. I mean, the other thing about that queue is that it's going to be constantly.
Where's this, Poland?
It's somewhere in Scandinavia. It's going to be constantly having that low charge, isn't it? Because too many are trying to go from the trying to charge from the hub. So that's going to be a queue there that's just there for 24 hours probably.
And you think about places like Florida that have to evacuate because of hurricanes and what have you. If they're all got electric cars trying to evacuate away.
Yeah, not too reliable.
Speaking of Florida, did you see in the when those last hurricanes came through, a bunch of the electric cars caught fire because some water touched the batteries, and those batteries just explode when that happens.
I can imagine. Yeah, that. I will say, usually when those batteries combust, it's quite localized depending where the car is, but you still don't want your cars combusting unless it's internal combustion, of course. That's fine.
I mean, the other thing is, if you let your battery go flat, it's not even a case of just topping it up with electricity and away you go. The whole car locks up.
Yeah, you can't.
Oh,
yeah,
right, yeah.
Can't.
There's nothing. There's no like redundancy or anything.
Well, if it runs out, it runs out. It goes. If it goes to 20%, most electric cars will go into some kind of limp mode that gives you enough performance to move the car. But it's.
Right. I mean, but compared to like internal combustion, where you can drive on empty for a little bit to get you to the petrol station.
Yeah, more or less. And if you run out, well, you just take some petrol. I mean, it's a bit different with diesel. You do need to bleed the system to get the compression back again. But with petrol, you just put more petrol and away you go.
Yeah. Another thing I've just thought about, you're showing this parking hub to charge. When it comes to car parks, multi-story car parks, a lot of them can't actually handle the weight of electric cars. You change every internal combustion engine car into an electric car in a multi-story car park, a lot will collapse because they were designed for internal combustion engines rather than electric cars, and the batteries weigh like 2 tons. so there's also that problem where that's just so much heavier that you. I mean, it's probably going to affect roads, but a lot of multi-story car parks might start to become a bit. They may need to be upgraded. Let's say.
Yeah, insurance. In fact, if you think about it, insurance companies are starting to tell people that they won't insure your house if you park an electric car on charge too close to your house
because it might catch fire.
Yeah.
Thought so. Yeah, it's. I mean, you've kind of gone through. What are the reasons to get an electric car, really? You know, if you're a Greta Thunberg, green thumb person, whatever, care about the environment.
If you're a Nazi.
If you're a Nazi, yeah, that's a good one. Yep. I guess part of it is status as well. People I know get Teslas just because, not to be a Nazi, but because they're expensive.
If you think about it, they need to be a luxury car.
Yeah.
Just to sell them.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of practicalities. I mean, I remember Boris Johnson saying, no new cars, no new petrol or diesel cars after 2030, and then there was this big push to get the electric car grid set up, and it's just not turned out very well because everyone. I don't know. There was just this instinct from a lot of people in the public that most people in the general public couldn't afford them. Two, your second-hand market went, it skyrocketed. This is why 1 in 5 car purchases are through mobility now. Because why would anyone want a new car if you're not going to be able to buy it in 5 years or sell it even in 5 years, unless it's electric? And now electrics are really expensive.
There is an infamous online. So there's an infamous YouTuber called the Mac Master, and about 3 or 4 years ago, he bought a brand new Porsche Taycan.
Yeah.
And he was very excited about buying it at first. Now, I don't think it wasn't a. The weird thing about electric cars, especially the Porsche ones, like they still have like the turbo models, which drives me crazy. But he bought like I guess it was a bog standard Porsche Taycan at £120,000. 2 to 3 years later, it's worth £30,000.
Bit of a drop off, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's.
I don't think you'd have the same depreciation if you bought a 911. Let's put it that way.
No, you wouldn't. Well, it's a bit like buying Macs as well, Apple Macs with electric cars. You can't really just replace one part of it because the whole thing's the battery.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's not like a petrol car or a diesel car where your spark plugs are gone, just replace them, or your I don't know, your flywheel's gone, change that out as well. I don't know about MOTs for the things, but I don't know how much better they are, because obviously you don't need emissions tests because they don't give off emissions. But
no, well, I mean the argument is they're really good for MOTs because there's no serviceable parts. There's an argument raging. I know that electric cars go through tyres because of all the torque from the electric engine.
Yeah,
and the weight. They go through tyres so fast, like probably 4 or 5 times the speed of normal decay on tyres.
Their acceleration is pretty cool, though.
Yeah. I mean that is one buying feature, acceleration. The argument is you're using them on normal roads. It's like the supercar argument. What's the point of having a supercar? If you can use them on normal roads, you can only do 30 miles an hour.
Because you get to go to Nuremberg once a year. Is what I heard on Top Gear.
Well, you can leave the traffic lights a bit quicker than everyone else.
Stay yellow. Stay yellow.
It's basically it. Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, circuit racing, an internal combustion engine will beat any electric vehicle because they can handle better. Because it's like Colin Chapman of Lotus said, what you need to win a race is simplify and make lighter.
And batteries make heavier. Yeah.
I mean, like a lot of race cars these days, they're a bit hybrid now, aren't they? Like they add some electrics for better.
Yeah, but you notice they've not gone fully electric. I mean, I know Formula One has an electric division, but those races don't last as long.
Of course they don't.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like you can just at the pit stop have like a shot of petrol put in, like half a liter or something. I don't know. You need to actually leave it to charge.
Yeah, well, I don't think Formula One they're allowed to do a pit. I think the current rules is you're not allowed to refuel the car either, and that you can get a good.
But it can go thousands of miles on a full tank, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so you don't even need it.
You can do a 2-3. I don't know, longer races. What 2-3 hours or something like that?
Yeah, a few hours. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen the electric Formula. What will it be Formula One or is it like Formula Electric or something like that?
I think it's Formula E.
Formula E. Yeah. I've never. It's just that's the other problem. It just sounds so. 20 years ago, that would have sounded cool. These days, because they've ruined electric cars.
Yeah.
But I've never watched it, but I can't imagine, like, you don't get the wow, wow, wow. I mean, that's my really cool car voice.
you get wee.
Well, I don't even think you get that. You just kind of get gravel noise. Well, not gravel noise, but tire on tarmac noise. It's just like like a faint roar.
To rebuttals, I asked, aren't all cars depreciating? Well, some diesel cars are actually appreciating in value.
Oh, are they? Oh, thank God for that.
Because people can't get them.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I need to tell Tosh we're rich.
If you bought a diesel car, say 4 or 5 years ago,
no,
you'll probably find it's held its value or it's worth more.
Yeah, nice. No, ours is 10 years old, so rip. Still, it's probably worth.
It might have held its value, but if you bought I think a 2014 diesel Mondeo is worth 16% more from 2 years ago. As example, I heard.
Yeah.
But as far as cars generally depreciate, not like EVs though, because who wants a second-hand battery pack?
Well, that's the other thing. Well, you'd have to replace the battery, which probably costs as much as the car.
10-15 grand, depending on the vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you may as well get a second-hand diesel car at that point. There's just not a lot of advantages to electric cars, and I don't really get why. Well, I do know why they've had such popularity. It's because of subsidies, like windmills and wind farms and solar farms. Like it's all subsidies. It's the only reason it's happening.
And the people who think they're saving the planet.
I don't know how many people who think they're generally saving the planet by buying an electric car. I don't think actually buy electric cars because I don't think they can afford them.
No,
some people are virtuous with it.
It's questionable how much they actually believe it, but all the sort of like the upper middle class people who do, will say, "Oh, it's so good for the environment," which is bollocks, of course. But
like the people in San Francisco in that South Park episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, that is literally about an electric. Oh no, that's about a Prius, isn't it? Still, it's halfway to electric, the hybrid. I'm surprised hybrid cars didn't catch on more actually. To be honest with you,
it depends.
I was just going to ask, why does every taxi driver, like Uber driver, have a Prius?
I think.
Do you have an answer?
Well, it's part of tax reasons because I think taxi drivers have to pay a different tax band.
Right.
MPG technically, although you could argue that hybrids aren't as good at MPG as people think they are, because as soon as you strap on a battery and an extra engine, essentially, you've made the car heavier than it otherwise would have been. You're better off just having the car have a smaller engine.
Right. Well,
although I remember on Top Gear where they proved that a BMW M5 at the time, which would have had a V10 engine, if a Prius went flat out round the track and all the BMW had to do was keep up with the Prius, the BMW used less fuel.
Oh, all right, fair
Right.
enough. Well, they faked some of those experiments, but well, I don't know if that one was necessarily faked as well. I know they really annoyed Elon Musk when they said that their Tesla ran out of fuel before it finished the track.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's that did happen.
So don't always trust Top Gear, but it is funny.
Get Jeg's comment there. At my job, they added in charging parking spots and then banned everyone from using them because the electricity became too expensive.
It's just classic, isn't it? That is crazy.
I mean, the other thing I want to touch on is how the EV market is destroying. I can't remember what I call it, the established car manufacturers. I won't call them the Western ones because it affects Japanese aren't considered Western, but the traditional car manufacturers are all going out of business. If you want to pull up the car scoops, Ford is losing almost 60,000 for every EV
there we go.
it sells article.
Yeah. It's up. So Ford EV's business looks to be hemorrhaging cash while gas-powered cars bring in the money, but is that the full picture? Ford has revealed its earning in its first quarter of 2023. While its EV units may seem to be losing cash hand over fist, there's more to it than that. Ford's internal combustion engine and commercial operations are ranking in moolah, keeping the company profitable for the time being. I hate the way this is written, by the way, but whatever. For the first time. Are they?
Like we were saying earlier, like if you're getting an electric vehicle, you get a Tesla. I mean, I can't. Well, I don't know if I've ever seen like any of these Ford electric vehicles.
I've seen Ford electric vehicles, but not many of them.
Most of their fleet is now electric now.
Well,
the new Ford Capri's electric, the Mustang E is electric. They're all SUVs as well. Ford have ditched every hatchback and saloon model. The Focus is actually coming out of production this year.
Oh,
They've basically got the entire fleet of SUVs now.
not ideal. That I mean, aren't they kind of strong-armed into having to make EVs?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. So
I mean, as it says, and you know, they're losing money on them. They're going to lose money on if they dared to make a petrol diesel car, they'd lose money on those because of government. But basically, what the government are doing to them. It's basically if you're a traditional car manufacturer and you're not Tesla or one of the Chinese EV companies, which by the way, Polestar is Chinese.
then you're kind of screwed. Yeah. Well, you're screwed, I imagine, because you're going up against competition that's had an advantage and got all the subsidies in advance. So no matter how you slice it, just under $60,000 per unit is a sizable chunk of change to lose on each electric vehicle. But there are several factors to consider. Firstly, the volume is reduced thanks to the scheduled downtime at the plant in Mexico, which produces the Mustang Mach-E. The temporary.
Why do you think they had to slow down their
Oh, because I imagine nobody's buying the Mercian.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, like a Mustang, especially. Who wants an electric Mustang?
Well, that's the thing. Like half the fun of a car is the noise.
Yeah.
And speakers won't do it. It's got to be the raw sound. Like even when I drive my diesel Fiat 500, like going fast in that's still kind of fun. And you buy a Mustang specifically for the noise and the feel. It's gonna feel, it's just gonna suck when you get your motion sickness from going 100 miles an hour and all you hear is something like that. Yeah, I don't think that came through Discord, but
it's like James May said once that it's much more fun to drive a slow car fast than a fast car slow.
Yeah. Similarly, Ford EV unit is hemorrhaging cash while scaling production. That includes £3.5 billion spent on the Ford-owned LFP battery plant in Marshall, Michigan, and Blue Oval City in Tennessee, which will produce Ford's next-generation electric truck in 2025 with a capacity of 500,000 units each. It also doesn't help that there are only 2 car manufacturers in the US because of regulations that both those car companies keep pushing.
And on the 3, GM, Ford, and Stellantis, essentially.
Oh, probably. I know Ford and GM are the 2 big ones, though.
Yes, well, Dodge is Stellantis. You could call it Mopar. That's what they're doing. Call it in America. So that's like Dodge, Chrysler.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just 3 big ones.
Well, I'm being told, Mercian, that there's no cause for alarm on losing $60,000 per electric vehicle. Unlike unlike other manufacturers, Ford isn't willing to throw in the towel on ICEs just yet, or internal combustion engines. And the sustained profitability of the Ford Blue Line gives the electric vehicle division a bit of breathing room. While Tesla's Model Y price cuts won't help Ford's bottom line, especially as the legacy automaker has had to make similar slashes to Mach-E's price to keep it competitive, a higher volume of EV sales in Q2 could reduce the average loss. When was this article made? Did that actually happen? I think this was in 2023. So did they make money in Q2 of 2023?
No, the only traditional car companies that have made money is Toyota. What was the other one? Toyota, and they only made a slight profit.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I know.
Basically,
go on.
Any legacy car manufacturer over the past 5 years has been slowly losing money. The only ones that are making money are electric vehicle only, like Tesla, Polestar, etc. Toyota, and they're only making a slim profit. I forget what the other one was.
And Tesla is getting a lot of government grants to help pump those numbers.
Well, they're getting more now.
Yeah,
they're turning the White House into a
advertisement
showroom.
For it. Yeah.
I was gonna say, one thing that I found really took me out of a game was, I don't know if you ever played it with us, Tharium, but whenever we played Call of Duty, like Warzone or something like that, they kept putting electric vehicles in, like an electric Hummer, and it's like, this is really strange.
The last Battlefield game was that as well. They're all electric vehicles.
Yeah. Hang on. I want to make one thing very clear. Fiat 500L. Fiat 500L. All right, it's a big car because we own horses. All right, it's not Daddy's little girl car. All right, I want to make that very clear. And it's it's actually the one Tash had before we actually got together.
It is a girl's car there.
Yeah.
I don't feel any less manly driving it than. Well, no. To be fair, my mum's Audi A3 was really cool.
The only 500 a man should drive better say Abarth on it.
Whatever. But no, it's the Fiat 500L. I want to make that very clear.
Is it the Fiat 500L Abarth?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know my cars. Anyway, Ford's play into the EV space is a long-term one, with the company predicting a $3 billion operating loss for EVs in 2023, more than $2.1 billion operating loss recorded in 2022. So they're expected to lose more in 2023. That doesn't sound good. But with new models at the horizon, improved production facilities and increased capacity set to come online in the next few years, investors will be keeping a close eye on how Ford performs. In fact, financial and investing advice company The Motley Fool reckons now may be the time to get in on the Ford action. They note that while the EV businesses will take years to grow, if investors start to see improvements in margins over the next few quarters, it may be a sign of good things to come. I take it... Can everyone stop going on about the Fiat 500? I take it that didn't happen, Mercian.
Well, I've been tracking it. All I can tell you is, as I said before, the only traditional car manufacturer that's made a profit over the last year is Toyota, and they only made a slim profit.
Yeah. So there you go. That's so. It's not really surprising to anyone, but yeah, going all in on electric vehicles, not a very good move. However, they literally couldn't do anything else.
Yeah, this is why I'm raging against it, because it's so astroturfed, and it's so astroturf for no good reason, as far as I can tell.
No, hang on. It's AstroTurf because a 16-year-old autistic girl from Sweden told them that this would be a good thing.
And then there's another one, Car Scoops, the Jaguar story. So those are loads of eyepaces that are now at the scrapyard because they're not sold. They're brand new eyepaces that are at the scrapyard, ready to be scrapped because they're not selling.
Well, I put it in the other side of the hill. Just for the moment, bring up the new Jaguar. That's going to save the company, no doubt.
Right.
Do you want to talk about
so
that?
This is the new Jaguar. No, it isn't. That's the new Jaguar. Yeah. So blue. This was after their utter woke nonsense advert, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
The
doesn't
thing
change
about that
everything.
is Jaguar have been in trouble for a while now, for decades. Probably since before Ford owned them, and they've kind of got by the skin of the teeth for a long time. I'll tell you now, this is ESG money because they're already broke.
Yeah.
So what? They've made a meme to try and kill the company off. Is that what you're telling me?
They're already broke.
I mean, they're already well.
They're a zombie company at this stage. I'm surprised that they're still going. That must be. I'm convinced that's CSG money.
I mean, Jag's saying that he's heard that they're not even actually making these. This was just a concept, which would be even stranger. What was
even bigger waste of money? Okay.
If you type in Jaguar Paris fashion show.
Let me find it elsewhere. What am I exactly looking for?
You're looking for because Jaguar had a.
Oh no, it is real. Yeah.
I see.
It exists.
Yeah, there you go. It's. I don't know who this is, but no, I don't want to save it. I want to copy it. I don't know who this is, but there's some. Oh my god, are you serious? Why is it not letting me show this? Okay, never mind. I can't show the guy coming out of it, but yeah, the card does exist.
Don't worry.
Oh, I'm sure he is. The card does exist and just looks very strange. Is all I can say there.
Nice paintwork though.
I don't. He looks a bit less gay. He looks a bit like the guy from Disco Elysium, but he got his act together. The door opens really strangely as well. Why did they make this? Is it electric as well?
Yeah,
it's electric,
of course.
I'm not being funny, but this doesn't exactly scream. Yeah, I may have just run over a farmer, but I've got a Jag, so it's okay. You know, it's screaming, "Get out of my farm."
Well, Jaguar said this was bringing us into the future.
I mean, I don't want to be a part of that future, to be honest with you.
I mean, my mum's got a 2008 Jaguar XKR. That's her little special thing. It's a bit cooler than this
her
thing.
special thing. What does she do with it?
She'll drive it occasionally.
Okay. My mind went to a different direction for some reason.
Bad.
My dad's got a Jag as well. I can't remember what Jag it is. Jag Estate or something like that. I don't know. But he bought it more for the sound system than the actual car itself. So my dad's a bit of a hi-fi guy. So
wow, it's he bought a Jaguar. Did it come with a CD player?
It did. I don't. Well, this is his second one because he traded his first one in for another one. I can't remember why. But
I think that joke was far too millennial for you.
Yeah, I didn't really get it. I mean, was it because you could have those CD players where you put 6 discs in and it could switch them about?
No, it's a reference to Feeder Buck Rogers.
I have no idea what that is.
It's a song that came out in 2001. Yes, I'm old.
Oh right, okay. Well, I was born before 2001, to be fair. But well, Tory Rebuttal enjoyed the reference, so you got the boomer vote on side, I'll say.
Millennial boomers wouldn't know that one either.
Fair enough. But no, my dad plays all his music, and he even started listening to audiobooks on it as well through not SD, USB sticks. So fair enough. But yeah, I kind of can't believe they made that. But
Well, they're in so much trouble that basically we've got the basic. These are thought process. We've got to build an EV. We've got to make money. Let's make a super luxurious one. However, how do we get the money to pay for that? We'll get some ESG money. You can see the
the incentive.
thought process.
Totally get the incentives, but it's just ruining car. The thing is you're probably just going to see a load of new car companies come out from all this because the big ones are going bust from this. So,
particularly in China as well. That's the other worry. It'd be such a tragedy to lose the American, European, and Japanese.
It's something that it's so obviously moronic that every single thing we've done in terms of green energy, solar panels, wind farms, electric vehicles, all it's done is boost China and their state in world trade. That's all it's done.
That was the plan.
Well, that's what it seems the plan was, and nobody seems to have noticed. And now, Kemi Badenoch was on stage today saying all this net zero stuff, it's giving China the advantage. Anyway, my plan is just to review what we can actually do about net zero. I was like, oh, God.
Civil service say nothing. Oh well, that's that. Then.
It was so bad. I think even Tory Rebuttal said this is just awful, but the boomers are going to lap it up.
Mm-hmm.
I made the video today on it, 150 views, and most of the comments were like, "Oh yeah, I forgot Kemi Badenoch was leader of the Tories." I was like, "Yep, me too." So,
do you remember a few years ago, Jaguar did that series of adverts with like Tom Hiddleston and Mark Strong as probably like movie British villains? That is exactly what Jaguar should be doubling down on to sell up like this high class, confident British sort of aristocratic villain type look. That's who their customer base is.
I'm surprised they don't lean into the kind of classic British identity more. Instead, they went full woke, and I think that's why so many people felt almost betrayed by it. Like, you're never going to own a Jag. No, but it's what Jag represented. It's classic.
And that
British.
image that would sell everywhere. That would sell like hotcakes in China, even like this British aristocratic sort of bad boy.
Hot cockroaches maybe in China, yeah, but it's just maddening. Like everyone's been disappointed with electric cars, from what I can tell. Maybe not everyone. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but a lot of normal people, ordinary folk, say they rely on all these petrol and diesel cars. They can't afford this electric stuff. They don't have. Think about it as well. You own a terrace house. How are you gonna charge your electric car? You can't do that. There'll be wires all over the street. It's just nuts. But they still push ahead anyway with it because, Greta Thunberg cried or something. I don't even know.
Could wheel out your petrol generator like that and turn it on.
Well, that's the other thing. The amount of times you electric car conventions, there's a diesel generator somewhere.
Air pollution actually gets worse in terrace areas because they all have to run their generators overnight to charge their cars. So
that's how trains work. Diesel electric, isn't it?
Yeah.
I always think back to that. One of the eco protests in London. They're all camped out, and they have these generators, these diesel generators running to charge all their smartphones, and they put some wooden pallets over it to try and hide it.
Well, for the most part, apart from nuclear and obviously renewables, making energy is a very dirty business.
Mm-hmm.
and we don't have any nuclear power plants, or
Well, we
well, not
do,
many.
but it's not. Well, it's taken us about 3 times as long to make any because of like natural England and stuff like that. Oh, we've got we've got a super chat from Sarah for £2. Reckon the Elon drama broke the dam on EV hype.
A bit.
A little bit.
Because Tesla is the biggest name in electric vehicles.
Yeah, and he's lost.
And a lot of the people who were all electric vehicle nuts because they're all green now hate him.
They started putting bumper stickers on saying I bought it before Elon turned into a Nazi.
Yeah. And then there's been plenty. I like to see that all the people in America who have been vandalizing Teslas and stuff are being recorded, and the police are not happy with them. Trump is sending his enforcers to get these people.
The thing is, they're shooting themselves in the foot because Teslas are the best electric cars in the market.
Yeah.
But they're owned by a Nazi, don't you see? I mean, it's just there's oh my god, I really need to get brave. What was I gonna say? I mean, people were already skeptical of electric cars, and those that weren't obviously will have just got them anyway. I think everyone who was after an electric car pretty much already has one.
Mm-hmm.
Those that don't still don't really care. It's not really caught on like you think it would. But I keep listening to this guy called Rory Sutherford, who he was a guy who worked in marketing for years, and he seems pretty convinced that even now that electric cars are still going to be of the future, and I don't see why he keeps saying that.
There is a certain type of person, and basically rich people who don't need a car. But it suits them.
Yeah,
I can imagine that. But well, it's quite funny when it is quite funny whenever I hear people who work in London think tanks start talking about cars, and they don't seem to have a proper opinion on it, and then you find out it's because they don't drive, because they don't need to, because they live in London.
and then they get a servant to drive them when they do need to go somewhere.
Well, yeah. And then they'll get a train and complain about the trains. It's like, yeah, but everyone just uses a car, man.
Well, everyone says electric cars are the perfect car for London because there's no emissions at the tailpipe.
Yeah.
But where are all the charges in London?
Well, that's a fair
Yeah,
point
exactly.
as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, the perfect car for London is a really bad, really polluting antique car, because they're exempt from the low emission stuff, aren't they?
yeah, they are. They're also exempt from safety features, so you don't need seatbelts in them.
So
So are you advocating for the PLP 50?
So what now?
I don't know what that is, but probably.
PLP 50 is a very tiny. If you want to type it in, Aaron, so you can see it, it's a very tiny car, one-seater, a moped engine. Holds the record for the smallest car in the world.
No, like get as much pollution as you can if you've got an antique one.
Okay. Well, if you're gonna do it, like get a diesel car and get it to roll the coal, as it were.
Yeah.
So you can see Greta Thunberg and rev it up and get all the soot out.
There it is. I mean, well, this was on Top Gear as well, wasn't it? Jeremy Clarkson drove it through the BBC offices. Said Fiona Bruce had a nice bottom.
Yeah, but arguably, could you think of a better car for London? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've heard the Irish put a few good cars in London at some point.
Yeah, or this would be a really bad choice for that. You know?
It would.
No, put anything.
It is a funny car, that though. It's just like a mini Reliant Robin. Reliant Robins are already pretty small.
Oh, this is much better than that because you got the two wheels at the front, which is so much more stable.
Oh yeah, another Top Gear bit where it keeps tipping over the Reliant Robin.
Yeah.
I think, ironic. I mean, you'd think if we cared about the environment, why aren't cars getting smaller?
Because we are getting fatter.
because they're putting too much safety features on, and people
Yeah.
like big SUVs.
Yeah.
Well, people feel safer in SUVs as it was said in The Simpsons. SUVs
Yeah.
are involved in more crashes than any more fatal crashes than any other type of car. And Bart says, "Fatal for the people in the other car."
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
mean, like, I've seen like some people say, well, in tests they're not really any safer, but like bigger cars. But I don't really believe that.
it's all
Surely there's more stuff between you and whatever you're hitting is a good thing.
it's all psychology anyway. Why do you feel safer because the car's bigger?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter beyond that, really.
I
Do
mean,
you
if
know
I'm
what-
in a big SUV and you're in this little PLP50, I'm winning that.
Yeah, quite. Well,
Well, do you know what the first car to have an NCAP 5-star rating was?
go on.
Mm,
It was a mid-2000s Renault Megane.
I see.
Do you know what Eurostar rating a Land Rover Freelander had?
I have no
Mark one.
idea.
2 stars.
Oh,
So if
Go
a Mark 1 Freelander and a 2000s Renault Megane got into a crash,
right.
you're likely to more likely to die in the Freelander than the Renault Megane.
There you go. Well, fair enough. I mean, I always know that if you're in a crash and you're in a Volvo, you're likely to be safer in almost every instance.
I bet Volvo were really pissed off the French managed to get the first 5-star NCAP
Yeah.
test.
Well, maybe. Yeah, it's they like their safety, those Swedes. But
mm.
I don't know. You don't really hear
Well-
much about Volvo these days, do you? Or I haven't anyway.
Well,
Aren't they-
Volvo.
Aren't they more upscale these days?
Well,
I'm not
Volvo
sure.
were bought out by Ford. You
Really?
can find Volvo box in the Ford Focus ST, 5-cylinder ones. But I think Ford basically, because Ford's been losing money they've got rid of everything they owned, and I think a Chinese, I think Geely owns Volvo because they own Polestar. Polestar was like a Volvo performance brand, like AMG's to Mercedes. So I
Right.
think Geely of China owns Volvo now.
Ah,
Looking at
That's
Volvo UK, they've got yeah, they've not got much. And it's nearly all SUVs.
no, everything seems to be all SUVs these days.
Mhm.
Yeah, the variety of
Yes.
cars seems to be going right down recently, I have to say.
Yeah.
Why is that happening?
It's a good question. I mean, it's like music. Music all sounds the same these days. It's all there's not defined genres like rock music and hip hop and pop. All
Yeah.
it's great, and it's happening with cars as well and culture, and it's all. I think it's connected.
Well, even games as well. You get the odd really unique game like Kingdom Come Deliverance, something like that. But even indie games are all people just post indie games now where it's just in this game you get to like kill billionaires, and it's just the most generic shooter where it looks like there's a bit of psychedelic graphics in there, I guess, but it's just like it looks talentless. But then you get to AAA and everything's trying to be Call of Duty.
I mean, that's
But
the I can't remember. What's the Epic Engine? Unreal Engine 5.
yeah,
That's really killing all that because everything's just looks like Unreal Engine game now.
Well, I suppose
Because it is.
Well, I suppose that's the thing with what's it called with Kingdom Come. It doesn't use Unreal, and it's got a really unique art style. And I mean, there's even times in that game where I just go on the horse. It follows the path, and I just look round because they've done such a good job with the engine. And then you see like Gutenberg in the background or something. It's like, oh, neat. Even though you can tell it's like dead poly because I play on a PC and it's right close to my face, but it still looks pretty good. But I mean, Helldivers was another unique one. But you're gonna get loads of games out per year than the amount of cars you're gonna get out, especially because it sounds like Ford just owns everything in Europe now. How's that happened?
Well, it's them or the Indians or Chinese, it seems.
Yeah. Well, I'd rather have, as you say, the Ford owning everything than necessarily the Chinese. Yeah, that's fair. But if Mercian, if Ford's losing $60,000 per electric vehicle, how have they managed to afford everything else?
That's me. Oh no, 'cause they've got rid of they owned right. So Ford in the early 2000s, Ford owned a reel off the list now on Volvo, Jaguar and Land Rover, Aston Martin, I believe. They owned all those companies in the early 2000s, and they've had to let them all go because they were losing money. In fact, what I find strange about Ford is, the best-selling car from, I think it's 1978 until 2023. Do you know what the best-selling car ever is in the UK?
Mini Cooper, gone. No idea.
Ford Fiesta.
Yeah, I can believe that. Yeah, my brother and sister had one.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
they're now stopping the Ford Fiesta. Or they've stopped the Ford Fiesta. And in fact, you know what car replaced the Ford Fiesta? The current Ford Puma replaced the Ford Fiesta.
Right. See.
It's like a small SUV. And basically, their entire lineup is SUVs. The only car on sale now, they might be getting rid of some already built Focuses. They stopped making them on Mondeo ages ago, but it's basically Mustangs and what's left of the Ford Focuses that they've already made. Other than that, everything else is an SUV or an EV of some sort.
Yeah.
Basically putting out the car market in favour of SUVs and trucks, vans, commercial vehicles. And you'd think, if they've had the Ford Fiesta has basically been the top selling car for 30, 40 years now, and they're still not making any money.
Well, the whole car industry just seems to be stagnating anyway. I guess it was always going to happen at some point, especially because so many have been manufactured and safety standards have standardized everything to the same degree that the second-hand car market's just so. But they last longer as well, don't they? So the second-hand car market's still going as well.
Well, here's the thing. There's lots of a modern car made within the last 5 or 10 years is a lot less reliable than one that is 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because of the Euro 6 and Euro 7. Well, we haven't brought in Euro 7 yet, but the Euro 6 regulations has made engines a lot less reliable. And extra pressure, because they've brought in the EV cars, and they're not allowed to make any internal combustion after 2030 or 2035, depending on your locality. There's no point in investing any time into research and development into a new engine that can meet the upcoming Euro 7 standard. So basically, there's only a few engines available between car manufacturers, and they're all sharing them.
Yeah. So there's no innovation either. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they're all incredibly unreliable. The 1.2 PSI engine used something called a wet belt, and a few manufacturers. Ford did this they were the first and most notable to do it. Volkswagen have done it, but it's very controversial because if you ask any mechanic, you don't mix a rubber belt with oil because it degrades the belt.
Yeah, sure.
And Ford went, "Oh, we've fixed that now. We've laminated the belt and we've put some ribbon in it.
Okay.
And now we can run the belt in oil and it'll be a bit quieter and a bit smoother to run." Well, it hasn't worked.
I was going to say, how would that work?
Well, they claimed it made it more reliable because they put this special coating on the belt.
Right.
But you ask anyone who's had a wet belt,
Yeah.
you are supposed to use a special oil, but nothing works. Basically the rubber is perishing. So you need to avoid engines that use wet belts.
There you go.
And basically, because of Euro 6 and the fact that there's no R&D into engines, there's less engines to choose from. And if you'll find a Renault engine in Fords, for example, or Toyotas. They're all sharing engines these days.
And well, it sounds like all these engines are just because they're sharing them all as well. They're all making SUVs. I assume these engines can only fit in SUVs.
No,
No.
No, I don't know. Well, it's just what it's at. I'm
mean,
trying to think of reasons as to why they would only make SUVs.
I think, like with so many other things, if we didn't have these regulations, like because internal combustion engines have advanced a long way, they're a lot more efficient than they used to be. But if they didn't have the government saying what they have to do, I imagine they'd be even better now. Just in general, yeah.
Well, that'd meet him to the customers. What a customer wants out of an engine. What does a customer want? They want.
They want faster horses, I believe.
Performance and economics. That I don't think many consumers care about the emissions from an engine.
No.
Just give me good MPG. Give me good performance. See what manufacturers are doing to get the emissions down is to make the engine smaller. You'll find a lot more 1 litre engines. But these 1 litre engines, they're pushing out nearly 200, 300 brake horsepower because the customers want a really powerful engine. If you've made a really powerful small engine, that's very taxing on the components of a small engine. To get 200, 300 horsepower normally, you'd want a bigger engine.
Yeah. And things like, in the long run, a big engine but with better miles per gallon, that's better for the environment, if that's your concern.
Yeah.
Would imagine so, yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is there anything else to talk about with electric vehicles? They suck.
I was going to ask, what do you think about the like Teslas with those completely automated cars that you don't drive at all?
Oh, I'd like one.
You like one?
I'd like
do you know
one,
what?
yeah.
Do you know what I would like genuinely as far as automatic cars is an automatic self-driving double-decker bus.
I think
just live on it.
That sounds cool to me.
Well,
like have it done out with a camper and then get it to automatically.
Well, aren't they trialing them out somewhere? Isn't it like Edinburgh? They're trialing them out, and the union managed to they managed to say, "Oh, you actually need 2 people to work on these buses. One to make sure it doesn't crash, and be in the driver's seat the whole time in case something fails, and then another to actually do the ticketing, like a bus conductor for ticketing." And it's like, how have we managed to get self-driving buses and then go backwards?
Yeah,
in terms of efficiency, yeah. We should all ride bicycles like Peter Hitchens. He does ride his bike in a smug, racist way, I have to say.
I prefer horses to bicycles.
Yeah, well, you would. Well, as we said before, that's another reason to get rid of electric cars. Horses will get spooked because they don't hear them, and then they see them, and then they're like, "Oh my god, massive thing," and then they can run. There you go. And a horse not under control can be quite dangerous. So it's, I don't know. I guess we'll start summarising at this point. I don't know what else there really is to say on electric cars.
Basically, this is a small piece of the puzzle of the net zero insanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is one example how this is. I mean, it's going to break the developed world. I don't know what we can do to stop it.
Just stop subsidising them.
I mean, and this is one of the most retarded parts of net zero because an incredible amount of pollution is created in making these things and in running them.
That's the same with most renewable, like solar
Yeah,
panels and what have
exactly.
you.
Yeah.
They all barely any of them pay off their carbon debt.
Mhm.
Barely any of them, especially if they're made in China. In China.
Like I mentioned Landman earlier, which is all about these Texas oil wells, and yeah, in that they have a scene where he's explaining the wind turbines there. It's all just to provide power in the middle of nowhere so you can drill more oil.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
Incredible.
But the other thing is, he goes. I mean, like the stop oil people, and he
Yeah.
goes on to talk about like how you need oil to lubricate the
Mm-hmm.
blades and everything. Basically, you can't live in the world without oil.
No.
It's impossible. You get rid of the internal combustion engine. Guess what? You need oil still.
Yeah.
Well, how do we
and the
make plastic bags? Oil. You go.
Have you seen when wind turbines get frozen up? They get a helicopter
Yeah.
out and then use a flamethrower,
Nice.
an oil-powered flamethrower, just to melt it.
Well, yeah, it'd be usually napalm, that wouldn't it? But yeah,
They-
well, they use a drone
can you-
sometimes. Well, but
They use diesel engines to start them some of the time as well.
it makes sense. Don't be mean.
Well, the point is, it's like I said on there. Well, we don't necessarily need to find a replacement for oil because we can, like I said before, we can always synthesize a hydrocarbon. The problem is where do we get the energy to do that? Where do we get energy from? I mean, the easiest answer is nuclear, probably.
Yeah, but then that takes a while to get. So you do fracking in the meantime. That's my answer.
I mean, again, nuclear, you've got to dig up any uranium and stuff. That's all. That's not exactly completely green either. You still need oil for that.
Yeah, but I think we're past caring about going green.
No, we don't, but the people who sort of do.
Oh yeah, but I've it's always been a misnomer that I'm kind of with Jordan Peterson that a lot of people who say they care about the environment are just anti-human.
Yeah,
So
there's them as well.
That's,
I mean,
that's
I guess I'm a bit anti-human.
you are anti-human, and I don't like it. It's very left wing.
Yeah.
Um.
I just want peace and quiet, though.
Anyway, EC90 for fiver. Done well with the super chats tonight. We could kill solve. Oh god, we could solve two problems at once: environmentally friendly, cheap transport, and get rid of employment benefits. And we could have the Uber rickshaw. There you go.
I bet that's already a thing in India.
Well, yeah, they're bicycles, aren't they?
No, but like being able to summon one, like with an app.
Oh, probably.
aren't most rickshaws in India actually moped powered? They're not actually cycles, are they?
Oh, probably. Yeah. Well, all right. Just make them electric then. I don't know, man. I was making a joke.
Well, no, I suppose pedal powered ones exist, but I think majority of them are like old moped engines, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they are. Right.
I prefer my rickshaws to be just on foot. They've got to carry me on foot.
Like a reverse wheelbarrow type.
Yeah.
I know what you're getting at.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
I'd prefer like a raw box and have the too many either side just lift you up completely. No wheels, two people must suffer.
I mean, every Englishman like really should be carried around by Indians. It's just
That's what-
tradition. It makes sense, you know.
Tharium, maybe that's why they're here and no one told us yet.
It's all the plan. Soon,
Well, I mean,
once-
we'd need. To be fair, we'd need more of them than English people.
yeah,
Stacks
yeah,
up.
yeah. Yeah, 4 to every Englishman. And then then we tell them, by the way, this is what you're all doing now.
That's what you're here for.
Right. Well, I think we can conclude. electric vehicles, they were a fad, really. I think we're kind of past. Feels like we're getting past the prime of electric vehicles. It feels like we need to anyway, because the whole China thing. But either way, you get Trump in office, whole vibe shift on that. We'll get more right wing people in the UK and elsewhere over the next few years. That's gonna change this whole thing as well. It's all got to be quite interesting, I think.
Can I just touch on the whole China thing as well? There's another company called JQ, and I thought they were making electric cars exclusively, and obviously a Chinese company. It turns out they offer a derivative of a Mitsubishi diesel engine, and they're currently on sale in the UK. Brand new car company, which you expect to be EV, Chinese car company, and you can buy an internal combustion engine of a JQ, whatever.
Yeah, right.
So how come that? So it's funny how that China can get internal combustions out on the market.
Yeah, but no one else saw that. Well, it's what China do. They influence to try and ruin the market one way, but then sneakily have the combustion engines ready to go to complete the takeover.
Well, that's the other thing. They do have plants that are manufacturing internal combustion engines, and I was thinking maybe it was for their home market sort of thing.
Nope.
I'm wondering about that now.
Well, no, a lot of the way China works is, frankly, they it's not really for their internal market. To be honest, they don't, what internal market?
I think there is an internal Chinese. They do have an elite in China, don't they?
Oh, definitely. Well, yeah, but most of the elite go abroad. So
yeah. Well, I mean, it would make sense that China have been the visionaries of this net zero.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put it past them.
Well, it's the question, isn't it? How much of it was them just trying to take advantage of our stupidity?
Have either of you seen that clip from South Park where you got the Chinese guys going, "Oh wow, you're American, so big penis, big penis."
Yeah, our penis is very tiny.
Not like your big American penis.
Yeah,
I think they probably actually do that, and that's how they get away with everything, and it works.
Well, we basically know. Well, a lot of Chinese women honeypot British and American politicians and military men. It's something that it's something that they basically have to be told. Like, if all of a sudden hot Asian women are into you, there's a reason for it. So don't fall into the trap.
For it. They still fall for it.
Well, the non-gay ones do. Yeah, the gay ones just end up on cocaine binges. Another £2 soup.
How fit are these Chinese women?
Very.
Like, yeah. Well, at Mercian, does it matter? Like, they're women.
If I was an MP, I would go straight first into every honeypot and just feed them false information.
Yeah, it would be really easy.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're so stupid, but anyway. Sarah for £2. I was told that Reform were basically Lib Dems. Yeah, well, there's a lot of stupid people online, aren't they? Shut up, Tharium. You do not believe that. Having said that, I did just see that Carl's doing the whole Nigel loves Islam meme now on his channel.
I think he's converted, along with King Charles.
I think people need to give their head a wobble, personally. But anyway, we'll save that for another TOSH talks. I think I'm very glad we didn't have to talk about Rupert Lowe again. I can tell you that. Fed up of losing subscribers.
We would still be talking about it for another 3 hours.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I'd be mad. There's just so much nonsense going about, but whatever. I'm not getting into it now. We're wrapping up now. Basically, EVs are bad. I mean, actually, Mercian, we didn't go into this. There was actually a point in time. Well, electric vehicles were actually developed before the internal combustion engine because they are much simpler, but they never caught on.
Yeah, they exist. Well, especially the battery technology, but they've always been the inferior option. Simply because you can't go anywhere with them.
Especially back then as well, it would have been the
But
battery.
you
would have
can
been way worse.
imagine a battery from like Victorian periods.
Were they not very good?
Batteries have come quite a long way in recent years. Do you think they were sort of plateauing a bit with that?
Well, they've been threatening this solid state battery technology for some time.
Exactly. A bit like nuclear fusion.
Yeah.
Well, both of them are probably pretty difficult engineering feats, so you never know.
Well, if we get cold fusion, we wouldn't need batteries. We could have our own.
Yeah.
Well, imagine that Back to the Future style Mr. Fusions on all electric vehicles, and then I've really got nothing to argue about then.
I do like the idea of every vehicle being a nuclear reactor.
That's very Fallout.
It'd be great though, wouldn't it?
Every single car in that game's a nuclear bomb.
Nuclear
ready to
powered,
go
yeah.
off.
We should petition Rolls-Royce because they make the nuclear reactors for submarines.
They do.
So
Yeah.
we could have Rolls-Royce could be the first nuclear-powered car. I could do that.
I don't think I want nuclear powered cars. I'll be honest with you. But
the Abrams tank, you can technically burn anything in that because it's running a jet engine. You can like run it on wood if you had to.
the Abrams tanks run on a jet engine.
No, yeah. There's an engine out that fitted it to trucks and all sorts. I forget what the name of it, but yeah, basically, if you can have a liquid fuel that combusts, you can run this engine on it.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's actually pretty impressive.
But it's technology that's existed for decades.
Yeah.
I mean, the Abrams tank does do about 3 gallons to a mile. Not 3 miles to a gallon, 3 gallons to a mile, I think, is about what it gets.
So it's probably useful if you could run it on anything.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. Also, like if you are stuck somewhere and logistics aren't in great, you can figure something out.
Just liquefy your enemy.
You couldn't literally use wood though, unless you could liquefy it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You liquefy your
could,
enemy. And just
yeah, exactly. Rend their fat down. Stick that in your tank. That's very chaos, isn't it? Warhammer chaos. You just use the fat of your enemies to run your tank. Rend.
Anyway, we're pretty much at the 1.5 point. I think we've said our piece on electric vehicles. Quite a relaxed podcast and chat. This I enjoyed it. Plenty of things to talk about. Plenty of Top Gear references. But I don't think there was anything in your notes more to say really on that front. Just electric vehicles have been about longer than the combustion engine. There's a reason the combustion engine was massive for a century, and there's a reason it should still be massive. Well, it probably will still be massive now.
Yeah.
There's better.
Before you wrap up on that, I think the internal combustion engine liberated more people than any other invention.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's partly why they hate it, because it's we're not so, it gives you freedom to go anywhere. And I think our ruling class don't like that. The peasants having that.
Yeah. It's the fact that peasants have it, yeah, it's exactly it.
There you go. I do agree with you. I think it was the single most liberating device ever created, and I know Peter Hitchens absolutely thinks the opposite. Well, Peter Hitchens is an idiot.
He's an idiot. Train autists are retards. Let's be honest.
Well, he keeps claiming that like the bike's the most liberating thing, but I don't understand how a car's just not a bike but bigger.
If I wanted to go visit Tailed now, I could.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that on a bike or a train right now, could I?
No.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, like I think I had this discussion with a train fan before. He was going, "What? You can go wherever you want on a train." I go, "No, you go where the train wants you to go. Cars, you go wherever you want."
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with that.
EC90.
Anywhere in the country right now, with the car I have.
EC90 in the chat's trying to say that the internal combustion engine destroyed tradition and community. why is it that tradition and community has only been destroyed over the past 20 years, and we've had the internal combustion engine for a century or more? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And the peasants have had it for at least 50 years as well.
Yeah, probably
I mean,
longer than that. Yeah.
The internal combustion allowed people, allowed like all us farmers who were more further out to be more involved with the community.
Yeah.
Because it made it easier just to travel to the local village and stuff.
Yeah, take that, idiot.
Well, this is why it's important to talk about, and why I want to talk about it. If the governments around the world get their way on this, it's probably
It's
the
Jova.
biggest slice of liberation they're taking from us.
Yeah. Well, I made the point as well. Like, it's harder for young people to get cars than ever before now, and there's a loneliness epidemic. Yeah, they're probably related. That's all I'll say. Oh, EC90 wants free Vespers for everyone. Okay. How is the car any different?
I mean, we joked about Harrion driving a woman's car, but a Vespa? Come on.
I bet he has a cigarette and coffee for his morning breakfast.
Yeah.
No, you gotta have a Parker and have like 6 mirrors aside though.
Oh God, I know. Anyway, I'm not getting into moped talk now. I think, as I said, I think we've said our piece, and I think it's time to wrap up. Unless anyone has any very last thing to say.
Return to the horse.
Yeah.
Return to the
Yeah.
horse-pulled carriage, horse-drawn carriage. All right. Well, there you go. Right. As I say, I think that's everything we had today. So, firstly, once again, thank you very much, Jeg, for the 50 quid for Hollow Knight. I will be playing that at some point. Expect it, I guess. I know, summertime, I guess, something like that. I'd like to thank, obviously, the rest of you as well, EC90 and Sarah, for your generous donations as well. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Tharium and Mercian for coming on as well, especially Mercian for getting the links and notes together.
My pleasure. I was happy to do it.
Excellent.
I've been wanting to rant about this for a while.
You didn't quite rant like I thought you would, but still, you got your.
Well, I mean, I've tried to keep a level head, and I didn't want to go down conspiratorial. Because there's a lot of conspiracies around this subject as well.
I mean, the most we went into is ECGs and what, which does exist.
Well, these conspiracies are there. They're the truth.
Yeah, just wait another year, Mercy, not be mainstream.
Yeah.
USAID is funding all the electric vehicles.
I mean, like we said, with the peasants having this power, they hate that. They hate that.
Of course they do, yeah. But it's quite funny. Peter Hitchens' point's always, Cuba didn't really care about people having cars. It's like, you don't understand how restricted, it's very difficult to actually get a car in Cuba. Two, if you do have one, you basically need papers on you at all times and let the government know where you've been.
Aren't Cuban cars basically all 50 years old?
Yeah.
From the 1950s, they're all American cars as well from the 50s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. It could be very Cuba-like. Our car culture could be very Cuba-like.
Yeah.
We might be still. I mean, I'm no joking. You think, oh, we'll be having the last 5 years worth of cars. More likely, we'll be keeping the cars built in the 90s and 2000s. They're still on the road. They're the only ones that'll be still on the road in 20, 30 years' time. I'll tell you now.
Oh my God, we're Cuba, but 50 years down the line. How depressing.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're Cuba, but more communist.
Anyway, before we get down that rabbit hole, it's shill time. So, I'm not about next weekend, and I only realised that today. So, Laughing at the Guardian's going to have a bonus episode this weekend, and then the weekend after, obviously, it'll be back to the fortnightly schedule. So Tharium's coming on. I don't know if he knew that, but he knows now. And I need two more.
Thank you for letting me out the cage.
And I'll find 2 more guests for it. So give me till Saturday.
Get Rob's wife.
I don't think she'd do it. She's more left wing than Rob. but I don't think she'd do it. Anyway, so that's Saturday. Videos out as and when I can make them. I'll try and make the next episode not about Kemi Badenoch, because no one knows who she is. I got a comment the other day saying, can you do another Gary's economics video, but make it a bit more structured, which I found slightly insulting, but I got what he meant. And I saw his latest video. It's 44 minutes long, and I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it. It's just, I know I'm gonna want to die, but I am probably gonna do a reaction video tomorrow, but I just don't know what on what yet. Probably on Politics Joe losing their minds about Pip or something like that. Anyway, do subscribe to the channel, do become a channel member. Obviously, everyone knew about Super Chats, so well done. Go to my other channel, Harry and Gladiv, for even more content. And I've become a member there as well if you really want to. I'd be fine with that. Anyway, I think with that, I've done my thank yous, I've done my goodbyes, so I think that's everything. So once again,